Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the 47th Premier of New South Wales, the Honourable Chris Minns.
Thank you, Peter, and it's an honour to be here on the beautiful land of the Wiradjuri people. It's always lovely to be here in Orange, but with spring on our doorstep this week and all the flowers coming back to life, it's particularly special at the moment. So thanks, Ben, and thanks to the Telegraph for bringing us to Orange. It's a beautiful part of New South Wales. Can I also give a special shout out to the local member of State Parliament, my Parliament, Phil Donato. And it's his birthday today, so there you go. He only turned 60 once, Phil, so he's a few years shorter than that. Look, if you're in Orange, you can't escape Phil. And I remember a few years back before I was Premier, I was driving back from Mudgee with Anna and the kids, and Anna said to me, let's stop in Orange on the way back to Sydney. It's a beautiful town, and the kids were driving us crazy, and the battery on the iPad had already drained. So we pulled into Orange and we parked on the main street, and Anna said to me, oh, look, who's the member for Orange at the moment? And just as she said that, I swear to God this happened, Phil Donato screamed out, hey, what are you doing here? And I said, well, it's that bloke there. He's right there. And she goes, be serious, who is it? And I said, no, that's him. It's Phil Donato. It's that kind of place, Orange. I'm not saying Phil will greet every visitor to the town, but it is that kind of place. It's got an enormous community spirit. In fact, 1 in 5 people in Orange give their time to volunteer work, which, if you didn't know, is double the state average. So it's a giving community. I think that breeds a sense of social cohesion and one of the great draw cards of country life. And it's one of the reasons why so many people are keen to move to communities like Orange, but also Orange in particular. If you look at the statistics, particularly at economic growth or employment numbers, you'll see that it's all going up. Towns like this are growing because you're open to change, you welcome migration from around Australia and even from around the world into your community. And there are other places, I think this is important to note, particularly some of the mayors in Sydney, who are desperately opposed or particularly nervous about new people coming to their communities, and that demonstrates itself in refusing to allow buildings or apartments or houses to be built. They're worried about the kind of change that may bring. But that's not the attitude of businesses and civic leaders in Orange and other parts of regional New South Wales. You've specifically and explicitly told the next generation that there's an opportunity here, there's a future for you in this town, so move out here. Join our community, start a business in our main street, sign up to our sporting clubs, enrol your kids in local schools. You will be welcomed. And I have to say, people have answered the call. So the first thing I want to say is this is an exciting time for towns in regional New South Wales. The bedrock industries are going strong, farming and agriculture driving our exports, but we're also seeing a diversification into tourism, education, research and innovation. I have to say that the resource sector is our largest export industry. And the truth is, though many people perhaps in Sydney don't know it, we've been relying on coal exports in particular for decades to aid our economy, to aid the New South Wales budget, to create jobs, to drive investment. But anyone will tell you that coal faces challenges in the years ahead. And the diversification into critical minerals and other resources like gold offer an amazing opportunity to fill that export gap. Diversify our export economy, drive jobs, drive investment, and it's all in the bush. So as the Premier of New South Wales, it's my job to say unambiguously, we have to encourage and not turn away capital investment into mining and resources. The economy relies on it. The opportunities are too great to pass up. Whatever our challenges are, the growth and optimism is what every town wants to see. But it also comes with challenges, the kind of challenges that often follow success. Here in Orange, rental prices have risen by a massive 43% in just 5 years. Now, that can be crushing for a family trying to stay afloat, and it can be hell for a business in the main street, or in particular on public services that everybody relies on. We want staff in cafes and in hospitals and police stations, but they have to be able to attract workers. And the key ingredient to attracting workers is to make sure that they've got a roof over their head. And I know that Andrew Gee has been talking about that incessantly as the local federal member. The New York Times discussed an idea recently which they called the firefighter test. It's a test for cities and towns, and it goes like this. If a firefighter is risking their life to stop a town burning down, can that same firefighter afford to live in the town they're saving? Now, when we were elected, we had more teachers resigning than retiring for the first time in the state's history. Of our teacher shortages, 55% of the shortages were in regional and rural schools. In a single year, New South Wales lost 12% of its nursing workforce. And we're seeing record numbers of police leaving the profession without enough new recruits coming in to fill those ranks. As a result, crime increasingly has been identified by civic leaders, mayors and business leaders as a growing issue in regional communities and one that we have to confront as the New South Wales government. So what I'm trying to say is that inevitably these shortages that are reported as statewide disproportionately fall on regional communities. I think it's one area where the New South Wales government has been trying to make a concrete difference, and that is invest in essential workers in the state. The good idea about investing in essential services is that it creates strong communities that rely on good people doing often very difficult jobs. At last year's Bush Summit, we announced that we were doubling the incentives from 10 to 20,000 for health workers to move to the regions. And we're starting to see some success. More than 2,000 health workers have taken up the incentive and are now working in country hospitals. We made a promise to hire 500 extra regional paramedics over 4 years, and we've officially reached 125 new recruits working in places like Ballina, Mudgee, Parkes and Goulburn. Last year, we announced paid study for police recruits in Goulburn, and we're seeing some turnaround there, particularly when it comes to new recruits. We've received almost 2,000 applications, which is a 50% increase in the number of people who are applying to become the most noble profession in the state, and that is to become a New South Wales police officer. We've introduced a scheme to help police officers work in their hometowns to ensure that people from regional New South Wales can serve after they graduate from the economy, close to perhaps where their family is, where their parents are. Teacher pay rise, we've seen a drop in the number of teacher vacancies by 20%. And of course, we've tried to make a difference in terms of permanent positions in New South Wales country schools. Now, no one is going to take a victory lap. We're only seeing the very beginning of these changes, and we acknowledge that we've got a long, long way to go. But we do believe that it's a start. We do believe it's a start. We believe that focusing on the fundamentals, on the bread and butter of services, essential services that are needed to live a good life in a country town. That means access to essential services and a decent wage and a decent living for those that want to relocate with their families to a town like Eurobodalla, Temora, Cessnock, Moree or Port Macquarie. Big part of this is investing in key worker housing to give health workers a home in places like Lismore and Tweed Heads. Building 100 new public preschools, 49 of which will be in regional and rural New South Wales. One of the big challenges facing the agriculture sector is biosecurity and the hazards from invasive species. So we're partnering with the Commonwealth Government to put in almost $1 billion to fight off the plight of ants and feral pigs and other invasive species. Now, these are the primary responsibilities of government. And today here at the Bush Summit, we're announcing a new investment in another of those fundamental responsibilities, which is the safety of regional roads. With what we're announcing today is $200 million in new money to deliver vital upgrades across the state to reduce the number of people who are dying on country roads. To put this in perspective, friends, 1/3 of our population live in regional communities, but tragically 2/3 of road deaths happen in regional communities. I think I can speak for everyone when I say that all parents dread a call like that, coming from the police, telling them that their son or their daughter has been involved in an accident. If you live in a country town, you probably know someone who has personally been affected by just such a tragedy, who's had their life turned upside down as a result. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a fatal crash on the Mitchell Highway near Bathurst, and it wasn't too far from here. In the past 2 years, there have been 10 crashes on that same stretch of highway. One of the projects that we hope to fund with this money will be on the Mitchell Highway, widening the shoulder, putting up median barriers, and to introduce a new overtaking lane. Now, we know that roads are the arteries of country life and fundamental to having growing, thriving regional economies. They connect our towns, they move our freight from producer to market, they give young people access to their first taste of freedom. But we need to make sure that they're safe, or as safe as humanly possible. So more people get home safely and fewer parents have to receive that terrible phone call. Now, this is important work, and it's bigger than politics or political parties. And that's what the Bush Summit's all about. Bringing people together, hearing local voices, and hopefully finding real solutions at the end of summits just like this one. Life's too short for endless political bickering, particularly this far out from a state election. But whatever our politics, whatever our background, I hope that we are, and I genuinely believe that we are all on the same team. Now, I am someone from Sydney, and I don't pretend to have any Bush pedigree, and I'm not going to tell you some story about a great-grandparent from the bush, but I will say that I do learn an enormous amount from conversations just like this, wherever I go in country New South Wales. Firstly, the warm hospitality. Secondly, the very direct communication about what sometimes we're doing right, but often what we're doing wrong. But also the amazing opportunities, the culture, the lifestyle, and how great this state can be off the back of regional economies and communities. Being here today, I've got no doubt that that future is a bright one. So thank you for having me. Thanks to the Telegraph for pulling us all out here, and I can't wait for the discussion.